This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the AFC South Roundtable. That is right, episode 2 of season 2 of this show. And might I say, we finally have some football to discuss because each and every single one of the teams in the AFC South performed during preseason week 1. Some good, a lot to hope for, some maybe not so much. We're really excited to unpack this with all of the usual suspects, starting off with our good friend Ruben, Houston Texans representative. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Man, I am feeling fantastic. I just saw my starting offense put up a great drive. CJ shot to tank that. We'll talk about that later. It's up in the H, man. Can't wait to talk about, the other non-performing teams.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. Derek, how's life, man?
Doing good, man. It was good to finally see some Colts football again and really looking forward to being able to see more of this. Ready to talk about some of the performers and who did well and who didn't do well.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. And funny enough, as we introduce Michael, we see Ruben in the private chat saying that you look fantastic today, Mike. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. I mean, I lost about 120 pounds. So,
Since last season?
Since last season.
Oh,
wild.
Congratulations.
You officially look like Brandon Perna now.
I know. I got that. I got that look going. I pretty much just dropped Taylor Swift off my back, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Dude. But I mean, really, outside of that, first off, congratulations. That is absolutely wild. How's life over at the Titan Upload Network?
Hey, what can I say, man? Life is straight up 10.
Life is straight up 10. And let me tell you what, I'm excited about your Titans this year. We're going to talk about that a little later. And Dalton, UCF Jaguar, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. The Jaguars will go undefeated in the preseason, okay? You heard it here first, and I'm super, super pumped for it.
Undefeated in the preseason, might you say? Well, you know what? Sometimes things like that, you might just need to say, I might put some money down on that. If anybody is crazy enough to throw some cash down on the preseason, boy, do I have a place for you. And that just so happens to be the BetUS Sportsbook, proud sponsor over here at Roundtable Sports. And folks, when I tell you that this is the go-to place for over-unders, for game spreads, all the way down to player props, over-unders, you name it, this is the place to go. I'm talking futures. We always hear all of these debates across the panel of what team is going to win the AFC South. All right. Those odds are right here with all of these NFL futures. We have conference lines, and it's a fantastic place. We are planning on centralizing a lot of our content based off of these games. Week 1 is already here. Highly suggest that you do check out these guys. They are matching 125% of your first 3 deposits all the way up to $2,000. For those of you that are not the best at math, say, for example, you were to make a deposit of $100, boom, an additional 125 is sitting right in front of you to play with. That occurs for your first 3. This is a hell of a deal. No other sportsbook is putting a deal out there like this. So if you want to get in on the action early, go on ahead and hit that link in description and get in the game. As we can go on ahead and see, some of the odds already have the Houston Texans as the unanimous favorites, followed by the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Colts, and the Tennessee Titans at plus 950. Certainly quite a bit to unpack here. But guys, first off, we had a hell of a preseason week 1. I enjoy watching the preseason, especially when you get to understand how some of these depth pieces start to fit into the equation. And I'm really excited to unpack this. But first off, shout out to Leon Yoder rolling in $5 donation off the rip. We appreciate you. Bishop, kudos on the weight loss. That's not an easy thing. Hashtag tighten up.
Leon, it definitely won, and I've got the skin flaps to prove it. So, maybe BetUS can do some kind of bet. Maybe I can just jump off the roof and glide with him.
Hey,
fly,
man.
glide.
Listen, that's that positivity, man. That's
Bishop's out here walking the streets making money now. I see you.
Hey, man, he's walking those streets, and we can appreciate it. Folks, definitely do us a favor. Smash that like button. Helps out this channel tremendously, propelled into the algorithm so more AFC South fans can find this and yell at each other in the chat, which reminds me, sound off roll call. What team are you currently representing in the chat? Let us know. All right. First game I wanted to discuss today was the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right. Because you know what? they handed it to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know it's the preseason, but it probably felt good to quite a few NFL fans to watch that happen. Dalton, give us your full breakdown on that game, thoughts, some highlights. Why should we be excited after this preseason week 1?
Yeah, I mean, with preseason games, I never really get too high or too low. I mean, with this one, the Jaguars obviously won, 26-13. We saw 2 drives from the starting offense. Trevor Lawrence went 3 for 4, also had a touchdown pass, so that was good to see. Honestly, minimal action from the offense. There was a nice 20-yard bullet to our new toy Gabe Davis in the middle of the field, which, the Jaguars need to work the middle of the field a lot better than they did in 2023. And then we also saw our new toy, the 23 overall pick, Brian Thomas Jr., catch a 41-yard bomb. So, we saw some cool stuff from some new players on the team. But overall, I think the big takeaway with the Jaguars game was the new kickoffs. I mean, we had our opening kick return. Parker Washington returned down to the 20-yard line, and this guy was like dodging people. It wasn't just like a straight line run. I mean, he looked agile, and he's a second-year rookie who was drafted on day 3 last year, so that's really cool to see of him. The Jaguars also returned another kickoff to the 50-yard line, and the Jaguars also forced a safety on the Chiefs on one of their kickoffs as well. So, if you guys want to see some of the craziness of the new kickoff rule, I mean, the Jaguars will be Exhibit A to kind of see that. But I think overall, the biggest victory that the Jaguars had was not on the scoreboard, but it was on the injury sheet. The Jaguars sustained no injuries on Saturday. And, I think of anything that could happen, we would rather our quarterback go 0 for 8 passing in week 1 of the preseason than to suffer any kind of injury to any player on the field. So overall, it was actually a pretty good preseason game. But like I said, don't get too high, don't get too low on it. It's minimal action and it's your game planning. But yeah, I think it was a good to see from the Jaguars to kind of go out there and show some stuff.
Now, backstage, you were saying that you were not a fan of this new kickoff after seeing it come to fruition in a real game scenario. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I have a prejudice against it because I didn't like the rule change. And even if the Jaguars return 2 or 3 kicks, I wouldn't like it. And my main thing is I'm just not a big special teams guy. I hate when special teams like flips games. And, I hate when kickers miss easy kicks and it changes games. I mean, in the playoffs last year, there were so many missed kicks that caused different things to go on these games. And it really flipped outcomes. And I hate I would rather just every team start off the ball at the 25-yard line and just play football. Special teams is a little bit of an annoyance to me. And I'm kind of in a minority on that because I know a lot of people want to see more exciting stuff. But, I have a feeling come November, December, once the analytics really get out here, you're going to see a lot of balls just get kicked into the end zone. And then every team's going to start the ball off at the 30-yard line. I just feel like this new kickoff rule, it's making too many short fields. And, I just think that I didn't think there was anything broken with getting the ball at the 25-yard line, but I'll wait to see it. But if the Jaguars keep doing these good things on special teams, maybe I'll like it in 2024.
Got it, man. I mean, we will see how long this new rule change lasts. Moving on to Michael. Michael, what were some of your takeaways from this Jacksonville Jaguars game? I'm sure you're sitting there religiously studying the competition for the 2024 season. Anything that stood out to you or anything that you would like to bring to the table here?
Dan, I'm a football fan at heart, so I'm always looking at everybody's work so I can kind of better understand our opponents coming up for the regular season. That being said, though, I mean, special teams, you look at what Parker Washington did with a 74-yard return. So, I mean, it's kind of a glass half full situation for the Jaguars. You get a good situation there, feeling out the process, but also in the same sentence, they're still trying to figure it out with converting a safety into the end zone. So it's really just a whole scenario where everybody's trying to figure out this rule, what they can do, what they can't do. But I'd say Parker Washington really got my attention, and I think everybody else in the roundtable can agree he's probably going to be a problem this upcoming year.
I'll tell you what, Ruben, it's what you got on them Jags, man.
I was impressed, and what you want to see in these limited series is the guys, your new additions make plays, and that's what Jacksonville saw. One to Brian Thomas Jr. and one to their big, wide receiver addition, Gabe Davis. it's kind of like the Jacksonville Jaguars have been forgotten, like I mentioned last week, with all these young quarterbacks coming up, with all these new additions everywhere. The Jaguars, don't forget, were almost the AFC South champions, and they were in first place for a second. Now, they looked good, and like Dawson said, you can't be too high, you can't be too low. However, I do think you could definitely go low in the preseason if you have a bad performance. But Jacksonville, they did their thing. Shout out to them.
Shout out.
Please keep sleeping though. Please keep sleeping on us. I like us. I like us in this spot.
Sleeping on the Jaguars. As said, comes in with a $2 donation. Thank you so much. Like the missed kick the Texans had versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Doing.
Yeah, Texans fans remind me of it all the time. So yes, I remember that one.
What a backup kicker.
And then
bro.
about 5 seconds later, I recorded a video that a lot of you guys might have seen.
Not
Some
welcome.
of my favorite parts of this show are just some of the super chats where people send in and just talk all kinds of shit right to the host. That's one of my personal favorite things. Derek, thoughts and notes on the Jacksonville Jaguars performance? Anything key stand out to you?
Well, obviously, from an offensive standpoint, Jacksonville seemed to have it going pretty well. I mean, every single one of the quarterbacks for the Jaguars seemed to have a pretty dang good day. I mean, even though Trevor Lawrence only had 4 attempts, made good use of it. Even though Beathard was only throwing 50%, he did get a touchdown in there as well, 125 yards. And Mac Jones actually looked relatively good. Main important thing you look at is the yards per play. I mean, the Jaguars were averaging almost 2 yards more per play offensively than Kansas City. And, you know, even if it's just mainly the backups doing it, if you're going to win any game, you know, you got to be able to consistently make a lot of those big plays. And it seemed like Jacksonville had a couple of them going their way, which definitely is the main result of this game ending the way that it did. So, yeah, I mean, congrats to the Jags on getting that first preseason dub.
Folks, I'll tell you what, man, a lot of things can be unpacked during the preseason. And I wanted to move on right to Derek because I had Derek and Ruben onto a show earlier this afternoon. And I think Derek's getting frustrated when the topic has to be Anthony Richardson. So I promised him, I said, Derek, all right, today we are going to give you the floor and you're going to tell us everything you saw from the Colts game, what stood out, what made you feel positive. Go off, man. Talk to us about this preseason game, Colts.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to just get ahead of this while I have the chance. Yes, we were the only AFC South team to lose this week in the preseason. Ha, ha, ha. Unbelievable. It's so terrible. We lose a meaningless game. Oh, terrible. Anyways, we move on. Anthony Richardson, only 2 drives, only had 4 pass attempts, one of which he was blitzed on the first play of the game and had to throw a ball away insanely quickly or he was going to get hit. And, of course, another incompletion in which the tight end ended up running the wrong route and proceeded to not be able to make the catch. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm not looking any more into it than that because obviously it's preseason. Nothing matters. The teams are digressing down. Nobody's really putting any hard offensive game planning into it. So I'm not mad about it at all. As far as who stepped up, Latu, the defensive first-round pick from this offseason that the Colts picked up, really happy with, only had 8 plays that he was in on, but actually positively impacted about 4 of them. Actually, in his 4th rep as on the edge, he was getting triple teamed by that time, which is actually quite insane that, you know, the left tackle was getting beat that bad in his first couple snaps of the preseason that they needed that much help on the left side just to keep Latu from impacting the quarterback. So very happy to see Latu get involved in that as well. The biggest contributor to the game was actually Micah Abraham, who is another draft pick that we had this offseason, ended up having forcing a fumble and recovered it and took it for a touchdown. So the defense was definitely making some splash plays, even though for a good chunk of the third squad was not great. There's a lot of issues that the Colts are still going to need to fix. And I've been very adamant that the free safety room is definitely something that the Colts need to be fixing, but for some reason they just don't. So I'm going to have to deal with that. But nevertheless, it was still good to watch some Colts football this week.
Oh, man, and I see just the evil smirk on Ruben's face already. Here you go. Leon Yoder coming in again with a $2 donation. We sincerely appreciate you. He said, you lost tomato juice. That's the important part. I'm not sure I understand.
I think because Derek's wearing red. Is that what it is?
You lost.
So he's calling Derek tomato juice. Hey, that's not very nice.
I guess he's saying like it's a form of juice. I guess.
Why are you wearing Texans colors right now? Out of curiosity,
Right?
I'm just wearing a shirt, bro. It ain't that deep. It ain't that deep.
Is there like a number 7 and a Stroud on the back, or is it just a regular shirt?
It's under that hat.
Just a reminder for everyone else. Okay, it's the Colt stuff is here. Okay.
Wait, what are you pointing at the wall for? You're gonna bust through and say, "Oh yeah." The kids behind
him. Oh my God, folks! Please do us a favor. Smash that like button for us right now. I am looking over to this and we only have 24 like buttons smashed. I think that we could easily get over 50 as we hear the rest of the panelists discuss what they thought, what they got out of the Colts game, and also vote in the poll right now. I'll tell you what, it is those Jacksonville Jaguars who are currently dominating the chat right now at the beginning for best fan representation. Where they at, boys? All right, man. We will keep you updated there. All right, Dalton. Thoughts on everything and anything the Indianapolis Colts versus the Denver Broncos? What stood out to you?
Yeah, well, I felt like us AFC South Roundtable people were getting disrespected by the Indianapolis Colts fan base after we put out our very, very honest quarterback rankings. Okay, people were calling me dumb, stupid, idiots. Anybody out there can run a podcast. So my feelings were hurt. Okay, so I went out there.
That comment came out. I didn't see that.
I went out there.
Derek's burner.
Yeah, maybe it was from Derek's burner because all the tweets are at me. So maybe it is Derek's burner. But I went out there. So I sat down in the very, very dark room and pulled up the Colts game on a big screen. Okay, because I wanted to see, can I move up Anthony Richardson and my quarterback power rankings? Okay, unfortunately, he stays there. Okay, 2 for 4. One of his passes could have led to a first down, threw it behind him, much like Gardner Minshew did against the Texans in the final game. Did not pick up the first down. So that's really all we kind of saw from Anthony Richardson. So, of course, didn't really get to see much from him. But the interesting thing to me was that, you guys know, there were 5 different quarterbacks that played in this Colts game. Okay. Do you guys think that they are looking at a quarterback 2 and seeing who the top quarterback 2 can be when Anthony Richardson needs to get bailed out at the end of the games? So I was carefully looking at that, and each of these guys, Sam Ehlinger, 6 pass attempts, Jay Bean, 6 pass attempts, Slovic and Joe Flacco each had 5 throws. So, there's some guys out there getting some quality reps. So yeah, with that said, I guess a pretty good game overall. I mean, scored 30 points. I think the kind of more of the fun thing to watch is probably the other side of the ball, because you have a rookie in Bo Nix. And I think, rookie quarterbacks kind of dominate the preseason because a lot of people just want to see, what these kind of new players and new toys can do. These new, maybe eventual new faces of the NFL and of these franchises to go out there and play. So we saw some Bo Nix. We saw Zach Wilson in another home. I'll be honest with you, the Broncos' new uniforms, when I first saw it, I was like, are the Texans playing or are the Colts playing the Texans? But then I realized, it's the Broncos. I forgot they got new uniforms. But I mean, overall, I guess it was pretty cool seeing Richardson and Jonathan Taylor in the same backfield together. I know I've heard Derek talk about that every week, so that'll be kind of cool to see going forward, to see what kind of what happens out of that. But overall, put up 30 points. Lost in their preseason opener. Hopefully, we get to see a little bit more of Anthony Richardson, in the next coming games.
Hopefully.
So what about you, Mike? What you got?
Oh, Derek. It's been a rough week for you, man. You're losing the sleeves for your shirts. You got fans out there that are singing a really bad rendition of your theme song. That
was terrible.
Dude, come on.
Cringeworthy.
Why are we
Relax,
doing it?
relax.
Like,
Not too
don't
much on our boy.
disrespect
Yeah.
my friend Seth like that.
I
okay?
didn't. I
Don't be
didn't.
like,
Much on our
don't be
boy.
He put himself.
disrespecting
He
my
put
dude
himself
Seth,
out there.
all right?
He put himself out there, and that's fine.
We all know you
That
opened
is
But the word
We-
tone deaf
we-
comes to me quite a bit.
Since the
That's
beginning
all
of
I'm saying.
last year, all right? I will tolerate no Seth slander on this.
I'm not giving
roundtable.
Seth
I will
any
not.
slander. I'm just saying, harmonize. That's all I'm saying. That being said, the fact that you made Zach Wilson look good on the defensive line, it just shows me Latu needs help. So
He was
Hopefully
playing
they're
third
gonna-
and fourth stringers. I don't know if we can really necessarily say that Zach Wilson we made him look good. We're talking about guys who won't even make the roster.
bro, you didn't even get him on the ground. Come on now. Let's be real. You couldn't get him on the ground. You definitely need a little more meat up in the middle. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, we do. We need we have very bad defensive tackle depth.
Just like your buddy singing. It's that bad.
Oh,
Derek, can you sing that for us one day, please?
One day, yes, I promise.
If we
I
beat
will
you,
do it. I will do
I'll
it
tell you what,
on
Derek.
this round table.
I'll tell you what,
I will.
Derek. I'll tell you what.
I need a
If the
performance, though.
If the Titans beat you, they sweep you. You have to sing that live.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
I'll
what's
do
the
that.
other end of the bet?
Because I know
What is-
y'all ain't
Yeah,
gonna
what's
sweep
the other
us.
end?
If,
Okay,
if the
give
Colts
me-
sweep the Titans, what does he have to do, Derek?
How much
Okay,
do you love
give me-
that beard?
You're gonna have to talk to Mrs. Bishop about that.
This is
she'll cut you over that one now.
So would my wife. So yeah, maybe leave the beard alone.
Oh man, we have Leon Yoder coming in again with his third super chat. My boy, his third of the night.
Cha-ching.
How long will the Jags stick with Trevor Lawrence? Do you see him taking the Jags to the Super Bowl, especially since we took Calvin Ridley away from him? Question mark with a smiley face.
Well, I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence has signed a 5-year deal.
Yeah,
so at least
right.
another 5
That's what I was
years.
just about to say.
Yeah, the Jaguars are going to win the Super Bowl this year, and you guys can have Mr. Drops a lot. Okay, we got Brian Thomas Jr. who hauled in an amazing 41-yard catch.
Good
I
Lord.
went-
You break out those damn throwbacks and you're already going back to 99.
Dude,
We know
yeah.
what happened in 99.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but we don't have to talk about that part. I was like 5 years old, so to me it never happened. Okay.
It's still
Oh, man. All right, Ruben. Thoughts on the Colts game, man? I know you've been itching to talk about this one. Talk.
Well, here's the thing. Derek said we only saw 4 passing plays. That's all, the rest of our quarterbacks needed to get the job done and get in the end zone. Here's the thing. We know what the preseason is to showcase what you are, and the NFL world was tuning in to watch Anthony Richardson because I was and everyone else was, and what we saw did not impress me whatsoever. Derek was mad that we had Anthony Richardson 4th on our list, and what did he do? Nothing. I mean, apparently we want to blame the tight end for running the wrong route, but what about the other play where he just throws it right on the floor? It did not look good for Anthony Richardson. Here's the thing. If he would have put together a drive, if he would have ran one in for a touchdown, Derek would have been on here just clamming up saying, I told you, it wasn't just 8 quarters. It's plus the preseason also. But here's the thing. Like it's the preseason, we can't put too much face value. The thing is, Anthony Richardson did not impress whatsoever. And it's not wrong to say that. It's not bad to say that. He just didn't look good. And that's okay.
I do
That's
want
the
to
beauty of the
point out real quick.
preseason.
Did we just hear this man say that the preseason is about showcasing what you're about? Pretty
Didn't
damn sure
Derek
that's what
just
the
say
regular
the
season's
preseason
for.
is for young quarterbacks to really showcase? And isn't Anthony Richardson basically, right? Some people are basically calling this his rookie season. He had an opportunity, dude.
I'll tell you what, man.
I already told this man this guy's the greatest scout in the history of the world because apparently he knows that from those 4 throws apparently Anthony Richardson will not impress this year.
I didn't say
He already knows.
I
4
didn't say he
passing
wasn't
touchdowns,
going to
all it
impress. All I'm just saying is he's staying at number 4.
Just remember that when he runs for 3 touchdowns and has 2 passing touchdowns on your team in week 1. That's all.
So you guys play week 1 against each other?
We won, baby.
Oh,
We're
man,
going
that's gonna
back
be
to the
fun.
house.
Fantastic.
Their
I
ass
love
in.
it.
Oh, man.
Y'all playing in Indy?
at Indy.
Yeah, playing in Indy.
We went there week 1 last week and beat them. So,
Bro, we went there week 18.
Majority of the time, UCF, we beat you at home, but obviously the road record against you guys speaks for itself. So I don't have anything to say on that matter.
Folks, I will tell you what, things are already starting to get chippy, and I love it. Now we're going to transition over to the Texans game right after a brief word from another one of our sponsors, Shinesty. So now you'll probably notice that half of our representatives at Roundtable Sports always have their undies in a bunch when it comes to their favorite NFL team. And listen, I'm sure that they're getting sick of that feeling where they're feeling a wedgie rather than a warm hug. Maybe they want to say goodbye to uncomfortable chafing and hello to the softest underwear they will ever wear. Well, folks, let me introduce you to Shinesty.com, the underwear company that is here to revolutionize the underwear game. Let's be honest, life is too short for boring undies. These are so soft, y'all. You won't even realize you're wearing them. With the moisture-wicking technology and a perfect fit that never rides up, you'll quite literally feel like your balls are floating on a cloud all day long. And look at some of these absolute designs. And get this, folks, if you use our code at checkout, you can get an additional 15% off your order, RTS15. Remember, supporting our sponsors is a way to support us over at Roundtable Sports. So stop neglecting your balls and give them the gift of Shinesty underwear. Link is in description. Look at that. Shinesty. Go on ahead and check them out.
look, Dan, do you need me to model the bald eagle ones? Okay, I'll come out next show in full, just the bald eagle.
Dude, honestly,
I'll get the people.
That's what Michael's gonna have to do if they lose.
Yeah.
No, honestly, man, like what we're gonna do is have like all the Roundtables model Shinesty, and like we'll just run some Instagram ads on it. I think that'll be a good thing.
Dude, that'd be great.
We got the Chippendale show going on.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, listen, our ladies numbers are pretty low on this network. We got to bump them up a little bit. You know what I mean? I love it. All right, Texans, Steelers. Ruben, I know you were super excited about the CJ Stroud drive, but what did you see? What did you love to unpack? Why should Houston Texans fans be absolutely going nuts?
Well, man, his first 2 drives reminded me a lot of last season. Out multiple offensive linemen, Houston Texans didn't start Tunsil, Titus, or Shaq Mason. No help from the running game. Damian Pearson, 4 rushes, only had 4 yards. But it was because of the arm of CJ Stroud that got you into the end zone. He connected with Tank down a 34-yarder where Tank broke multiple tackles. And we didn't even get to see a Stephon Diggs connection. But once that does, that will go absolutely crazy and insane. The Texan offense, they did their thing. And it's what you wanted to see from them. You didn't want to see, them kind of not showing up and having some concerns out there, because at training camp, man, the Houston Texans defense has been winning. They have been the winners consistently day in and day out. So to see the offense just having it look easy for them was a great sign. We got to see Danielle Hunter on the defensive side of the ball in just a couple of rushes get to the quarterback. He almost had another one early, had 1 sack and 2 QB rushes on the play. That's why you gave him $48 million. There was a moment where in that Tank Dell touchdown, you see right after Stephon Diggs going on the sideline and, talking to CJ Stroud, the camera gets that, it gets posted everywhere. Oh, Stephon Diggs is already complaining about not getting a target. It's crazy how many people want Stephon Diggs to not succeed on the Houston Texans, but overall, I could not be more happier. It was a win, and I just cannot wait for week 1 against Indy.
All right, Mike. Thoughts on the Houston Texans? Should you still be as scared of them as you were last year? Talk to us.
Well, look, the Texans, I've said even on TUN, they're at the top of the shelf right now. And the only buddy that's going to really just put up any kind of just competition with them is just injuries, just knocking them out, if that's just being honest. But I will say this, they are still trying to fill some holes. I still think they need help at corner. They're going to have to find help, but, inside defensive line with having Danico Autry missing some time for that 6-week suspension. So, it's just going to come down to basically if they can continue to play at a high level when November and December roll around, when the games start mattering a little more. But I do think, if this team wants to try and improve right before the end of training camp, one aspect I would definitely look at would be corner. Xavier Howard's still available. So I think, a 1-year deal for him, that'd really make that defense a little more tighter going forward.
That's what you got, Derek.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that one touchdown drive from the Texans, this game was really just a whole lot of nothing. I mean, if you really ask me, I mean, it was funny too, because if you look at from the numbers standpoint, I mean, the Steelers basically outdid the Texans in practically everything, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But I mean, the Texans also had a couple of the drives early in the game getting stalled because Justin Fields couldn't hold on to the freaking ball every time that he touched it. So it is what it is. Yep, the Texans get that one touchdown early, and it kind of just set the tone for the remainder of it. Pittsburgh had nothing that they could really capitalize on. And, that's pretty much all I got from that game.
So what about you, Dalton?
You felt that, that distaste, that hate coming out of that? I felt it all the way here in the H.
You felt the hate all the way from Indy
here
down to Houston. Dalton, thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that you like to see when your team's playing such limited snaps, I mean, you want to see your starting unit be able to drive down the field and get a touchdown, and the Texans were able to do it. CJ Stroud, second-year guy, connecting with another second-year guy, and Tank Dell, so they got themselves a touchdown, and then that's about it. He goes out, he went 2 for 4 for the day. Really limited action from all of the starting quarterbacks in this division. A little bit boring, but I mean, outside of that, it is kind of cool seeing some other guys. I know, I was somebody that kind of like Cade Stover out of Ohio State, the tight end. He went out there and did some stuff last week. So, yeah, overall, not really too much to take away from this game. And, yeah, that's all I got to say.
And so a quick update on the poll right now, folks. 51% Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wait, so over half of the people in this stream are representing the Jaguars?
51% Jaguars. We have 29% Texans,
Jeez.
9% Colts, and 12% Titans.
9% Colts.
Look
Jeez.
at that.
They must be out on Anthony Richardson, clearly.
That singing scared him off. That's what happened.
That's almost as many quarters as Anthony Richardson has played.
Oh my God. But hey, you know what? There's one more team. All right. One team that I'm sure Mike is really hoping can have an uptick in performance in 2024. And that just so happens to be the Tennessee Titans. They ended up beating the San Francisco 49ers 17-13 this past Saturday. Mike, talk to us about this new Brian Callahan-led Tennessee Titans. Offense, defense, things that stood out to you, what looks good, what doesn't. Talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, starting out, Coach Callie came out just with a different mindset. Just the offense comes out and they start clicking. They're getting involved. They're getting the passing game moving, which is something the Titans have just stayed away from for the most part, for the better part of the last couple of years. But what really impressed me is really a few things. First off, Tony Pollard looked really good. And I know it's preseason. You're not going to get too excited about that. But at the same time, I was one of those guys that was like, I think we just overpaid for a running back. I'm not too happy about this. Hey, proved me wrong on that one. He went out, had a pretty solid game just for, having a few carries. So to me, that's just a narrative that I think you're going to have to pay attention to now that Derrick Henry's gone. Nobody can load the box anymore. So now Tennessee has many more options at their fingertips, especially a young Tajay Spears that's going to have an opportunity to get some touches down the road. Second off, the offensive line just looked so much better. And like I said, preseason, week 1, but oh my God, just the fact that they only gave up 1 sack. That was beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Just goes to show that's why you bring in really good head coaches that know how to teach players technique and how to play the position. And Bill Callahan knows how to do that at a high level. Third, while the defense got off to a slow start with the first series, I liked how they progressed as the game went along, and then the backups get their opportunity, and they're playing aggressive. They're going to the ball. They're trying to make plays. They're trying to strip. They're playing a physical, just smash mouth type of mentality. So Denard Wilson is going to get a lot of looks if his defense plays up to at least a top 12 level defense if they can pull it off this season. But overall, I'm happy with the way things went. You know, the kick return and punt return games looked really solid going forward, and hopefully they can continue to capitalize that going forward. And all in all, I mean, it was just nice to see a game where they played completely just flawless almost.
Beautiful. All right, Derek, thoughts on the Tennessee Titans? Have your predictions on how this team is going to perform this year changed at all after that performance?
No, I'd say it's a preseason game. I'm not looking too much into it, as Michael was saying. But I'll tell you what, dude, you need to tell Will Levis to stop taking them hits like that, brother. I mean, for anything else other than take the one note from Anthony Richardson, don't let your quarterback be taking them hits like that. Will Levis is taking way too many hard hits in his young career already. Somebody's got to tell him he's got to quit lowering the shoulder, dude. Like, because at some point he's going to meet his match, and that's going to end up being really bad for him. So, like, that's probably the only note I take from this Tennessee Titans game is, you know, if you haven't already noticed it by now, Will Levis, you know, I mean, I love that he's got that spirit to want to try to, you know, be like making the big play, but for the sake of your health and for the sake of the team, probably not the best thing to be lowering your shoulder against anyone for that matter, just because, you know, you don't want to be risking injury. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, it was great work by the quarterbacks for the Titans, and everybody seemed to be relatively accurate. Like he was saying, Pollard and Malik Willis both ran the ball very, very well in that game. So, you know, I wanted a whole lot more to it than what I saw from that.
Very interesting. Shout out said $5 super chat. Thank you so much. With Nico and Diggs were open on Tank's touchdown. Also, league is screwed.
It's over.
Hello. Said, hey man, he's high on them Houston Texans this year. And then Leon Yoder is saying that the Titans defenders need to tackle better. Way too many yards after contact for my liking, but the Titans offense is looking much improved in that 49ers game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you're right, Leon. I mean, you know, like I said, first series, they looked sloppy. They looked out of sorts. You know, granted, you had about 5 of your starters on the sideline, but still, these are guys vying for a job. So I'm pretty sure, especially with this week against the Seahawks coming in for joint practices, that's going to be one of the things they get cleaned up over the week.
Absolutely. So what do you got in this game, Dalton?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely tell it looks like the Titans are really trying to try out a bunch of different players. I mean, 8 different players had rushing attempts, and also like 15 different players actually had targets this game. So the Titans are a team that's definitely trying to, you know, really figure themselves out. You know, I'm also pretty curious, like, are the Titans a team, do they want to keep 2 or 3 quarterbacks? I don't know if Malik Willis is going to be here to stay. I mean, I would think that Mason Rudolph would be the quarterback too, but you know, you never really know. Maybe they can stash a guy like, you know, Malik Willis on the practice squad. But yeah, overall, I mean, you know, not too much really to take from this game. You know, not too much action from the starters. You know, of course, Calvin really had himself a pretty long reception, a 22-yard reception. So it's always cool for, you know, these guys to see, you know, the new players get a little bit of action. So yeah, when it comes to this one, the Titans come out victorious, 17-13, but nothing too much really came to mind when I watched this one.
And funny enough, somebody in the chat, a Colts fan, says, how about that Will Levis commercial, by the way? And the mayonnaise fragrance commercial. I thought it was brilliant.
Hey, they sold out. They got more coming in tomorrow, so dude's getting his paper.
Hey, man. I can't believe that's a real thing. I thought it was a joke. Ruben, thoughts on the Tennessee Titans game? Talk to me.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're building a culture, and that's what you want to see in kind of your first game with the new head coach. I'm kind of on the same thing with Derek. Will Levis needs to protect himself. Dotson, right? One of his big keys was, you know, coming out the game healthy. And Will Levis, man, he's just been, you know, just putting his shoulder down every single opportunity that he can. I just saw this highlight up here where he throws a pick six against Miami and then meets the defensive tackle at the goal line. Like, you cannot be doing that, especially if people are going to consider you a franchise guy. But with that being said, he did look good. Your new weapons looked good. Calvin Ridley, I think it was on a 39, takes it for 22 yards to move the chains. It was a good win for Tennessee. I have become Tennessee's #1 hater. So, I will be watching you guys closely the rest of the way, but shout out to them.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, preseason week 2 is right around the corner. So real quick, what I wanted to do is go around the table and ask each and every single one of our panelists what they need to see from their damn team on week 2. Hopefully some things that maybe they didn't see week 1. We'll start off with Ruben. The Houston Texans, preseason week 2. What do you want to see from these guys?
So we need to see who our backup running back is going to be, because entering the season, we thought it was going to be Dameon Pierce. But like I mentioned earlier, 4 carries for 4 yards. We brought in Cam Akers about 2 weeks ago, and he had a touchdown last week against the Bears, a receiving touchdown, and looked good on the ground, and then caught a couple more passes in the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have a lot of people already asking for Dameon Pierce's job, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they play this Saturday against the New York Giants, the first time we're in the H. It would not surprise me one bit if we see Cam Akers with the starting unit. We have yet to see Joe Mixon practice. We saw a little bit of him today on the sideline and working out with CJ Stroud. If he's not ready to go week 1 against Indy, is it going to be Cam Akers or is it going to be Dameon Pierce? But that is just a battle that I am closely watching this week and the rest of the preseason.
And so what about you with the Colts, Derek?
Well, I don't know whether or not we're going to see if we follow the same thing that Shane Steichen did last year in the second preseason game. He really didn't have most of the starters play in it. And then in the third preseason game, pretty much had him play for like a half. So maybe that because of joint practices becoming a thing now, maybe he's going to do it that way. I have no idea, but for as far as who I want to see more of, I want to see Latu continue to improve on what he was doing. And I want to see defensive wise, like somebody start stepping up in the tackling department, because against Denver, it wasn't very good with group tackling and a lot of tackling in the open field. It just wasn't something that I was looking forward to seeing. And as far as who the backup running back is going to be now, because Trey Sermon's dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't know what his status is right now, but it's quite possible he could be out for a couple weeks. I know who the backup is right now, but outside of that, I don't know who else we would really have. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye out for.
So what you got on that, Dalton?
Yeah, I mean,
the Jaguars, what do you want out of them?
I mean, the Jaguars in week 2, the real preseason game actually starts tomorrow and Thursday, because the Jaguars are hosting joint practices with the Bucs, which I'll be making a trek up from Orlando to really go watch. And that's a lot of fun because, a lot of times we go to these training camp practices, it's like, oh, the offense made a big play, but the defense let up a big play. Like tomorrow, you'll actually be able to sit there and really root for both the offense and defense to take down, the other side of the ball. So that'll be pretty cool. But the Jaguars are going to be getting all the reps there. Then, they've already said that, they're going to get enough reps from the starters this weekend or like these next couple of days in a more controlled environment to where they won't need to play starters coming up this Saturday. So, I guess in this upcoming Saturday's game, I mean, I'd like to see the Jaguars running back 2, Tank Bigsby kind of get some action. He struggled a lot last year, but, he was running really hard this last weekend. And, he was a guy that Jaguars invested a 3rd round pick in. So clearly the Jaguars want him to work out. So they're going to make sure they do everything they can to make that work out. So that'll be cool to see. I also want to see a little bit of Parker Washington. Of course, he had the cool kick return. Was that a fluke or can he do it some more? Because, the Jaguars just let go of Jamal Agnew, who, had some good years for the Jaguars. And, now could this guy be a punt returner? The Jaguars just signed Devin Duvernay, but now you have 2 kick returners in today's NFL. So that'll be something also cool to see. The Jaguars have a new kicker with Cam Little, who is just really killing it in, these training camps and barely missed a 62-yarder this last game. So there's different things to watch. And, the Jaguars are doing some weird stuff where they keep they're kind of adding a bunch of starting caliber safeties to the team. Last week they signed Amos, and then this, yesterday or day before they signed Tashawn Gibson. So I'm not really sure what's going on. do the Jaguars feel good about who's starting out there for the Jaguars at safety, or what's going to go on there? And I know, if you're a Jaguar fan, one guy to definitely look out for on the interior of the offensive line, who's currently a backup, is Cooper Hodges. The Jaguars have very, very little depth on the offensive line. And, if one guy goes down, who's going to be the next man up? Cooper Hodges had a really good game on Saturday. So, maybe there is a building block hidden on the Jaguars roster there. So those are a few different things to keep your eye on if you're a Jags fan.
Very interested to tune in. Michael, talk to us about the Titans. What are you hoping to see out of your squad week 2?
Well, against the Seahawks with their joint practices coming up this Wednesday and Thursday, we'll get our first looks at Quandre Diggs, see him in a safety. So pretty interested to see what he's going to bring to the table. But, really just more of one of the drop the boom kind of guys. But I think he's going to add a really nice dynamic to the Denard Wilson defense. Biggest thing for me, I want to see the coaching staff get real aggressive with their play calling. Denard Wilson and Callie basically opened up the playbook a little bit just on certain situations, and they tested some fourth downs. And, for the most part, it's just a feeling out process. So if they can get into some situations and really just try and play around with some ideas play-wise, I'm really interested to see how they'll react, in the fourth and short situation on defense, or even going for it on fourth down with the offense still out there. But I'd expect the first teams to get some more reps this week. I expect them be a little, probably maybe a half if they need to this week. So that's going to be interesting to see how they play that scenario out. But I do think, however, you want to continue to make sure that the offensive line's clicking on all cylinders. I'd like to see them get a little bit more work in, especially with this game coming up. And Leon brought up a great point up in the chat. Tackling is going to be something they have to continue to work on, but that's why you got preseason. You work these things out right now, so you're not worried about them in December and January.
That was beautifully put, indeed. Folks, it's going to have to do it for this week's edition of the AFC South Roundtable. Now, I do want to let you know that all 4 of these gentlemen do a wonderful job representing and covering their own specific teams on their individual channels. So say, for example, that you just can't get enough of trolling them on the AFC South Roundtable. I highly recommend to go and subscribe to each and every single one of their individuals as well, in case you want to stop in and say hello. They do a great job. We have so much planned this year for Roundtable Sports, including a wide receiver core ranking that should be being released sometime later this week. We're going to record it directly after this stream. So please do us a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. It is equally important to turn on those bell notifications so you never miss an episode. I guarantee you will not want to miss the week 1 episode where Ruben and Derek go at each other for the head-to-head matchup between the Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. That's going to be must-watch YouTube TV. I can promise you that. Let's go around the table, say our goodbyes, last words. We're going to start off with Ruben. What's going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're just getting ready for week 1 against Indianapolis Colts, dropping daily Houston Texans content on all platforms. See you guys next week, man. Go Houston. H-Town till we drown.
What you got, Derek?
Yep, another great week of covering some football. Good to be back on here with these guys, and can't wait for the next one.
What you got, Michael?
Always great talking football on the round table with these dudes. They're such fun to just have a good ball with. We just play with each other. It's not all serious. It's all good. So make sure you follow us at the Titan Upload Network if you're trying to find us individually. And, of course, take care and tighten up.
Last but not least, Dalton. What you got?
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Go Jags.
Go Jags. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe. Turn on those bell notifications, smash that like, and as always, we will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. EST. Deuces.